Today I have for you a neutral makeup look, very simple. At the time of filming this, my skin was feeling pretty parched, so I'm going to use products that give a little bit of hydration and some glow as opposed to powders that would make the skin look a little bit drier. I'm starting off with the Nude Sticks Hydropeptide Lip Butter. Since filming this, Nude Sticks have launched 3 new shades. Candy Kiss, which is on screen now, is my new favourite. So as I mentioned, my skin's been feeling a little bit dry. This was the beginning of starting Tret again. So I'm going to add some glow underneath my foundation. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Filter. And I'm going to buff that into the skin using the BK Beauty 106 Round Top Foundation Brush. You'll notice that I have discount codes for these brands which I will put on screen for you, but I'll also link them in the description bar for you. So I'm using the Flawless Filter just to add a little bit of a glow from within, because when your skin starts out using Tret, it tends to get quite dry and a little bit flaky. So we want to use very thin layers so that we don't make the skin look even drier, as well as something that gives a subtle glow rather than a frosted highlight. This gives a candlelit finish to the skin. What I will say though is if you have quite textured skin, this will enhance that because it does have some light reflecting particles to it. So there is no miracle products here. It's working with what best enhances your skin. Next, I'm taking the SOSU contour stick in the shade Cool, and I'm going to apply this underneath my foundation for a subtle amount of sculpting to the skin. Whether you apply this on top or underneath is completely up to you. You'll get something that's much more subtle underneath your foundation, and again we're working in very thin layers. I've applied this into the hollows of the cheeks, around my hairline, and a little bit down the sides of my nose, and a small amount underneath my jaw. Then I'm also going to go in with this Clinique Chubby Stick highlighter, and I'm placing this on the top of my cheekbone, just above the contour that we've applied on the hollows of the cheeks. I'm also going to pop a small amount on my brow bone before applying some of the Kosas Plump and Juicy Serum Spray onto my BK Beauty 106 Round Foundation Brush, and then bouncing that onto the skin to soften the appearance of the contour and the highlight. The beauty about working with contour and highlight underneath your foundation, as I've mentioned for many years now, is that you don't have to be fantastic at blending. Once you go in with your foundation, everything's going to look so much softer anyway, so you don't have to be fantastic at blending, and also this way you're less likely to get into a muddy mess. If you aren't great at blending, it doesn't matter too much, because again that foundation is going over the top, so it's going to be almost like a veil over the top, a little bit like an eraser. Whereas if you go in with your contour on top and you're not fantastic at blending, or you're new to working with contour, those mistakes will be much more visible. So this is a really good technique if you're a beginner. When it comes to the nose contour, if you decided to apply it, I would definitely advise going in with a slightly smaller brush. This one is also by BK Beauty Brushes, it's the number 203. It is slightly thinner, you can be more precise with it. You don't want to really bring that contour up onto the very top of the bridge of the nose. You want to keep it on the sides, especially if you're looking for a slightly straighter nose or something that's slightly thinner. Now, although my skin is slightly dry, I do still have oily skin through the centre. So I've picked a foundation that is sheer, buildable, but also geared towards oily skin, not just dry skin. I'm also going to go in with some concealer before I blend in my DIOR Backstage Face and Body Foundation. This one is by Givenchy, and again this is quite thin, it's very fluid, it isn't too heavy, and I'm only applying this underneath my eyes and in the areas that I just need a little bit of additional coverage. Applying my concealer in the areas that I need it rather than applying foundation first eliminates that additional layer. When you're using Tret, as the day goes on, your skin tends to dry out a lot quicker than it ordinarily would, and any areas that are slightly flaky, the heavier the foundation, the more flaky the skin appears. That's why the thin layers for me is very important, but also thin layers does give longevity to your makeup. So as you can see, using a damp beauty blender, I'm bouncing that over the top of the foundation and the concealer, and as we go over the contour areas, you can see it's just softening them slightly with this really soft veil of colour. We have a really nice glow to the skin underneath that foundation from the Flawless Filter, and this is something I rarely reach for because I do have a slight texture to my skin and I don't like how it enhances the skin. If the skin looks really good on its own, I don't see it's necessary to apply highlighter all over. Most of the time it just enhances pores and fine lines. Today I'm using it purely because my skin is feeling dry all over. It's just a little thin layer of added hydration and glow. I am going to take a small amount of this powder by Givenchy just through the centre because, as I mentioned, I do have slightly oily skin. So even when you have drier skin from Tret but you're oily, you're going to have a combination of both of those. So I am going to apply a very light veil of this through the centre just to bring down a little bit of that shine. But if you have naturally dry skin, you can avoid powder altogether. Moving on to the eyes, I'm going to take this stunning quad eyeshadow palette by Surratt. This is my new favourite. It's so pretty and it's one of those ones that looks so much nicer in the flesh. On camera, it really doesn't pick up just how beautiful this is. There are a few colour combinations you can get. This one is called Beyond Beige and I'm going to be using all 4 shades from this quad today. To start with, I'm taking my 207 BK Beauty brush and taking the lightest highlighter shade from that quad. I'm pressing this on the inner corner of my eyes. Very nice subtle highlight. Then I'm going in with my BK Beauty brush in 202. As you can see, it's slightly tapered and it's a really nice blending brush. So I'm going to use this to take the lightest matte shade in the palette as a transitional shade. This is going to be buffed through the socket. It's not that visible on camera because it actually looks similar to my eye tone this close up, but just work this through a couple of times to build up the opacity. Then on a flat shader brush by Zoeva, I'm taking that lightest highlight shade and pushing this on the mobile lid, so from the lash line up to where the eye naturally creases to meet that transitional shade. Going back to my pencil brush, I've now dipped it into the shade that sat underneath the highlight shade, which is kind of like a warm brown with a shimmery finish, and I'm popping that on the outer third of the mobile lid, buffing that in small circular motions and then using window wiper motions to feather it across towards the centre of the lid to meet the colour that we've already applied. Taking an angled liner brush by Zoeva, I'm dipping it into the darkest shade from the quad and I'm using this to create a very soft winged eyeliner. So if you only have slightly hooded eyes and you can get away with extending the outer corner of your eyelid, using eyeshadow is a great way to achieve this because it's softer. Once you've laid down that first shape, you can then go in with your pencil brush, buffing over the top of that with the residual eyeshadow that's in the bristles, and this will give you a softer finish. You can then reapply it and build it up to your desired intensity. I already have a couple of tutorials on how to lift the outer corner of your eyes. I also have a video for hooded eyes, tips that you can try that work on my clients that actually have hooded eyes, and I will link those tutorials on the top corner for you now. Here I'm using the very tip of my angled brush to pull that colour closer to the root of the eyelashes as we get to the inner corner of the eye. This is a new launch from LH Cosmetics. It's their new Infinity Ink and it's a great black liquid eyeliner. I'm now going to redefine the outer wing using this. However, again, if you have slightly hooded eyes or you prefer that softer finish, you can skip this step. Going in with eyeshadow first is a great way before committing with black eyeliner if you want to get the trajectory of your eyeliner correct first. Every step is optional, just do what works for you. Now black is really quite intense and I want this to be slightly softer, but I did want some definition, so I'm going to go back over the top of this with my angled liner brush to soften that black using that warm brown that has that shimmery finish to it. Then taking again the very tip of that angled liner brush, I'm now going to redefine the outer corner, creating more of a V shape with that brown. So the key here is to tap off all the excess product and keep it almost perpendicular to the highest point of your eyelid. So if you look at the pupil of your eye and go upwards, that's the highest point of your lid. You don't want to take this any higher than that part. Another tip is to keep everything super soft, so go back in with your blending brush to soften. When you're not applying false eyelashes, it's important to make the most of your natural lashes, so definitely get used to using some eyelash curlers. These ones are by Surratt. Then you want to go with a really nice mascara. This one's by Lancome. It's the Eyeshadow mascara. It's been one of my favourites for a very long time. And I will show you how this looks just with mascara before I go in with my falsies. So this is one coat on both eyes. What I would do after this is dried would be to give them another soft curl. And this will help to give you more of a lift to your natural lashes. Along my waterline, I'm taking the Coffee Pencil by MAC, but you can also use the colour Costa Riche, and I'm applying this along the waterline but also slightly below the root and then smudging that with my finger. I haven't taken this all the way across, I've only come halfway along the eye, so not to close up the eye too much. You can of course go all the way along if you want something more smoky, but today I want something a little bit more daytime appropriate. These are the Espionage Long Lashes by Lily Lashes, and these are going underneath your natural lash line. You can get glue that will last you the entire weekend or up to 7 days, but I like to just use duo glue and take them off at the end of the day. I feel like there's less pressure on your natural lashes and they're more comfortable to remove. That's why I apply mascara before applying these, because I'm going to be taking them off at the end of the day anyway. I have lots of tutorials on how to apply eyelashes, these in particular, also known as ribbon lashes, really similar in their style. The application method is exactly the same, so I'll link that on the top right corner for you. These also come with a carry case, so you can take them off, clean them, store them again, and you can reuse them. Most strip lashes can be used up to around 25 times, so providing you're using a strip lash glue like I'm doing here that's easy to remove from the false eyelashes, you'll be able to reuse these probably a similar amount of times. If you're using that weekend glue or the week-long glue, is a little bit harder to remove, so you might not get quite as many uses from them. Once you've applied your top eyelashes, you can just pop on some mascara to your lower eyelashes. If you're only applying mascara to your top lashes, you don't always need mascara on your lower eyelashes, but when you apply falsies, lower mascara really does create balance to your eyes. Moving back onto the skin, I'm going to take my Bare Minerals Endless Summer Bronzer in the shade Faux Tan, and I'm going to apply that with my Refa number 30 brush. I love how big and fluffy this brush is. It makes applying bronzer so quick and simple. You want to dust in a bit of a 3 shape along your forehead, across your cheekbone and down underneath your jaw, and only do a very light veil of this because we do have contour underneath our foundation. On the cheeks, I want to keep it nice and glowy. Again, these are the areas that tend to be quite dry at the moment for me, so I'm going to use the Nude Sticks Sweet Peach Peony, which you know has been a favourite of mine for so many years now, and I'm bouncing this on the back half of the cheek upwards. I don't need any additional highlighter because this gives the appearance of almost like glass skin. There's no light reflecting particles, but it really does give a dewy finish. On the lips, I'm going to keep it so simple. Again, I want this to be daytime appropriate, so I'm taking this lip gloss by MAC in the shade Love Nectar. It's very natural but also slightly peachy and really ties in with that transitional shade that we've got on the eyes. For the last step, I just decided to apply another coat of mascara. You can apply mascara to these kind of falsies and it will just wash away the same way your mascara comes off of your natural eyelashes. And that completes today's super simple glowy makeup look. Ideal if you have slightly drier skin. You just need to adapt a couple of the products to suit your overall skin type, whether you're dry, normal, combination oily. As always, I will link and list all the products I've used in the description bar so you can shop directly from the video. Make use of all the discount codes for Nude Sticks and BK Beauty brushes. If you have any requests for makeup looks, whether it's for the festive season or everyday makeup, let me know in the comment section and I'll do my best to accommodate those for you. Hit subscribe if you are new to my channel. Come follow me outside of YouTube over on Instagram and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!